Well, good evening. It's August the 15th, Sunday night. I sit here in the war room at Haddon Church, which we call the Chancel, and had an amazing week with Team E8. 4 ladies, 2 gentlemen, all an extraordinary team, wonderful team. We started off in Raunds, and we walked at the midday to Rushton. We met the vicar, Rachel Hawkins, on the way. She was one of the few people who, when the first letters went out, the first 2 vicars said she wanted to take part, and she put us up for the first 2 nights, although we didn't hear anything from her, and I didn't get in contact with her till about 10 days before we went, so it was quite concerning, and we'd have nowhere to stop at all. I don't really want to sleep under a hedge. I keep praying for a roof over my head every night and a hot meal every day. God is amazing. Anyway, we went to Rushden, and we took part in the morning service. We took part in a fish and chip supper on Saturday night. We did testimonies at both. And then on Sunday afternoon, we went down to the shopping centre, which she wanted us to do, and did some questionnaires there. Divine appointments, of course. And then we came back to the church for tea and cake at about 4 or 5 o'clock. And not knowing where we were going the next day, a vicar turns up, a friend of Rachel's, and he said, to Rachel, they can come and stop with me. 2 of them can, and I'm certain Father Ben would take the other 4. Then that's what happened. But Father Ben, where he is in Queensway, and this vicar in Queensway, they're on the other side of Wellingborough, not in the middle where the footpath goes through. However, the footpath, we walked that on Monday morning and got to Wellingborough, and the footpath had been blocked off anyway, so they had to come back to the river, and by this time the whole team was absolutely soaked. And look, Father Ben opened his house to us, come in, we all showered and dried off and got the clothes dried and everything, and we spent 2 days with Father Ben, and definitely of God, because we were stopped from going up the route. No one from the north of the city welcomed us or wanted us or anything. As far as we know, we didn't in contact with them, but Father Ben did. And about 4 on the Thursday before we got there on the Monday night, a young lad of 16 was murdered 200 yards from Father Ben's house. What an amazing man Father Ben is. He keeps his back garden gate open all the time, and his back door is never locked, just in case someone's running away from their husband beating them up, or they're being chased by someone with a knife. What a man. A great Christian man, and a fantastic gentleman. And we stopped with him for 2 nights. And in that time, we went down many times to the memorial, or the shrine to this young lad, Dylan, who was murdered. He was 16 years of age, and he was murdered by a lad of between 16 and 20 with a knife. And he wasn't even the one they were after. So we went there, and we had divine appointments, of course, all the time. We comforted no end of people at the shrine and walking around. We took part in the communion service on the Tuesday night in Father Ben's garden and prayed for lots of people. And generally, we were where God wanted us to be. And at the end, Rachel had said what an enormous encouragement had been to her on the Saturday and Sunday. And Father Ben, as he saw us off as we walked the next bit on from Wellingborough, he said, "You lifted me so much spiritually," and definitely of God. So then we've been trying to go to another Hardwick, but no one wanted us there. But out the blue, we seemed to get a call from Walgrave, which is just off the route. So we walked to Walgrave, went into the church, and a lady called Jane had a word with us somehow or other. I don't know how we got her number, but she was on holiday in York. But we rang her up, and she said, "Yep, you can come in and stop at Walgrave Church. It's got a servery and it's got a toilet, so you can sleep there." So we walked there, and as we walked there, one of our team, Mandy, lost the sole off her boot on the way. So we got to the church. She hadn't got a sole on the boot. And as we went into the church, there was a couple walking by called Nick and Trudy. And I said to them, "Have you got any second-hand trainers or shoes that you're going to throw away, which Mandy could have? She's size 5. And they said they couldn't because the wife was size 3. And so we left it at that. And we prayed about that because we knew we weren't allowed to spend any money on shoes. And it just seemed a bit hard because Mandy got no other shoes. And no other shoes fitted her. Anyway, we prayed about it. And lo and behold, of course, the Almighty is amazing. 2 hours later, Nick and Trudy turned up with a pair of trainers for Mandy. And they'd been into Kettering specially to buy them for her. And that was a real answer to prayer. We did door to door. We met some lovely people, and amazingly, I had a connection with 1 or 2 of them. Then we did. That night, I was very uneasy about the 4 ladies and David and I sleeping in the same church as the ladies. I knew there wouldn't be anything going on wrong, but it just looks wrong. And anyway, at about 5 to 9. There's a phone call comes through to my phone, or did someone come down? I don't know, something anyway. And 5 to 9, the ladies packed all their sleeping bags up and everything. And Katrina Parker, who's in the village, said they could stop in her annex the night. So they stopped there the night. David and I stopped in the church. And the ladies had their breakfast there next morning, and we were invited for breakfast as well. So breakfast was provided as well. Praise God for that. By the way, we've been given a lot of food on the way, so we ate during the day of Wednesday. We ate the food we've been given, and we had 2 on the team who are gluten intolerant. So that was in Walgrave, and she said, Katrina said, "Where are you going next?" And we said, "Well, we're trying to get to Holcott and Brixworth, but we're a bit out of the way at the moment." But she's, "Oh, okay, don't worry about that, I'll sort it." So we were in Walgrave, and she let us know. She said, "You can go to Scoldwell. They want you there." So we went to Scoldwell Church the next day on Thursday for Thursday night. We had a divine appointment as soon as we arrived. I saw a farmer coming out with his tractor and got talking to him, and he knew me. Amazing, he knew me. He'd come 30 miles to do some work for a contractor who was working for us, and his name was Michael, and he was a lovely man, and his wife Lynn as well. We got on really well with them. So we stopped in Scoldwell Church that night, did door to door, all over the place, quite a lot. Had divine appointments, yet again. And we got to 9 o'clock that night. One gentleman in the village has said that I could sleep in his place with David, 2 of us. So David slept on the bed, and I slept as a good leader on the floor. And the ladies slept in the church. And as I sat outside in the morning reading, on the village green, about 7 o'clock, a lady walks across and picks her newspaper up. And as she's walking about, we get talking, and I tell her about the way and what we're doing. Oh, she said, "Tell the ladies to come and have breakfast with me." So I went across and at 8 o'clock and told them, as long as they got there before 10, they could have breakfast with her, which they did. But we had another miracle the night before as well, because there was no food left, and we were all about to go for our billets, the ladies in the church, and David and I with Rob. He's a lovely man too. We stopped with his house, and someone comes into the church. I'm not there at the time, and says, "Is there anything I can do for you? Anything I can do for you at all?" And I think probably one of the ladies mentioned food. Well, within 20 minutes, he'd come round with 2 pizzas, a bottle of red wine, and some mince, which was a grand feast for us at Scoldwell Church that night. But in the afternoon, at 3:30, 4 o'clock, didn't really know where we were going to go the next day. We've been trying to get to Holcott for 2 nights. And we were just praying in the church, having had lunch. And my phone rang. And it was Derek from Holcott. Said, "Of course, we want you to come to Holcott. You can sleep in the village hall. It's got everything, toilets, kitchen area, the lot. And 2 rooms, so the men can sleep in one and the women can sleep in another." And we were so relieved. We then had a spontaneous outbreak of praising God for an hour, David, one of our team members, an amazing pianist, and we just praised God for an hour. It was wonderful. And as a matter of interest, we had 2 more spontaneous prayer times, one in Wellingborough at the Queensway and one with Rachel at Rushden, which were just phenomenal times of prayer and praise and praying for people. And the Holy Spirit just moved in all 3 of those occasions. I don't say he didn't move other times, but that was phenomenal. So we then moved on to Holcott. By now we'd walked as far as Brixworth on the route, and we went to Holcott. And in Holcott, we found it, we did a lot of door-to-door. We went and knocked on the door of the lay reader, and she kindly let us into the church, which I don't think had been open for some time. And that night we went, on Friday night, we had a prayer and praise in the church, just the 6 of us, with the lay reader, Jill, who very kindly let us in. And as we were leaving, she said, "You must just drop at my house, I've got something for you." Well, of course, she got lunch for us for the next day. So we went back, praising God again. We then went to sleep. And that next morning, on the Saturday morning, we went to Chapel Brampton.